the Supreme Court is reviewing its own verdict of 2018, which allowed women of all ages to enter the Sabarimala temple. And now these are not questions just about gender justice, but bigger questions around Article 25, 26, constitutional morality, and whatnot. And the verdict is going to affect all the other sections of the society as well, other religions as well. So let's see what the entire debate is all about and what is the current progress. Hello students, welcome to Drishti IAS. My name is Saloni Nandkyoliar. Let's get started. Now, before we do that, we have this course for you, which is the Studio GS Foundation live online course. Now, this is an exciting course because it's a foundation course. You can complete your prelims and main syllabus. You'll get a complete guidance. So you'll get 1250 plus hours of classes, printed class notes, live chat facility, and a complete course coverage within 14 months. You also have 3 mediums that you can choose for yourself: Hindi, English, and English. So a complete foundation course you will be able to get at 34,999 rupees. And if you wish to avail a further discount on this fee, then you can use a coupon code, which is SALONI, Saloni, all in capital letters, and you will get an additional discount on this fee. So the admissions are already open. Please don't wait. For any more information, call us at 87501 and you can also download the Drishti Learning app and enroll into this course. Now let's come back to our discussion, where a bench of 9 Supreme Court judges is hearing its own verdict. It is actually reviewing its own verdict of 2018, where it allowed the women of all ages to enter the Sabarimala temple, which is in Kerala. Now, what's the entire issue? So there's this temple in Kerala that is called the Sabarimala temple, and women of all ages are not allowed to enter. So women between 10 to 50 years of age are not allowed to enter the temple. Why? Because this temple is dedicated to Lord Ayyappa. Lord Ayyappa, and Lord Ayyappa is considered to be an eternal celibate. That is why menstruating women are not allowed to enter the temple. But in 2018, Supreme Court had given a verdict that all women of all ages will be allowed to enter the temple because it is against their right to equality and right of life with dignity. So it's against these constitutional fundamental rights. That's why they will be allowed to enter the temple. But then debates rose. The center also filed a PIL asking some bigger questions. Like, these are questions around religious practices that certain religious denominations are practicing, the beliefs that certain religious devotees have. So do the courts actually have the authority to look into the religious practices and pass judgments? So these were some bigger questions that have been raised by the center. And right now the Supreme Court is looking at 7 big questions, 7 main questions, wherein it is just no longer about gender justice. It is about other things also. It is about Article 25. Article 25, an individual's right to practice, profess, and propagate any religion. Article 26, which is the fundamental right of religious denominations. Then questions on ERP, essential religious practices, like which practices in a religion can be considered to be absolute, essential, or fundamental to that religion, and which can actually also be reviewed by the judiciary or by the center or by the constitution. So are all religious practices supposed to be protected by the constitution or by the court, or there are certain religious practices which are not exactly essential and fundamental, and if they are seen to be harming the individual fundamental rights, then they can be reviewed. So certain bigger questions are being asked right now. So this is a hearing that has been ongoing since April 7 to 9. This hearing will continue. Post that also the court is going to look at various other dimensions of the case, and then in a few days a final verdict is going to come out. So let's look at the 7 major questions that are being asked. First and foremost, what is the scope of religious freedom that has been guaranteed under Article 25. What is the scope of this religious freedom? Because here we are talking about these rights of the devotees and the rights of all women also who are wanting to enter that institution, they're wanting to enter that temple. So what is the scope exactly of Article 25? Here we are talking about ERP, essential religious practice. Do we need to protect an individual's fundamental right to practice and profess any religion? And also Article 26. Also Article 26, that if certain religious denomination considers some of the practices to be essential to their religion, do we need to protect all those essential practices? How are you going to identify if a practice is essential to an institution or to a religion or not? So one is this question. Second, what are the limits of Article 25? So we know that no fundamental right is absolute. There are reasonable restrictions, and here we have reasonable restrictions in the form of public order, health, and morality. Public order, health, and morality. They are not supposed to be contradicting public order, health, or morality. And here when we talk about morality, bigger questions are being asked, that does it also include constitutional morality? Constitutional morality, wherein people have to follow what has been written in the constitution. Does it also constitute constitutional morality? Because constitution also talks about fundamental rights, like right to equality is there. So does it also constitute constitutional morality, what has been given in the constitution, or is it only morality in a very narrow term? Then conflict between an individual and group rights. Individual's right, Article 25, and group rights, Article 26. So religious denominations, basically the sects or the subgroups that have been formed under a religion. Like in Islam, you can have Shia and Sunni. In Christianity, you can have Catholics and Protestants. In Hinduism also, you can have certain like Shaivites, Vaishnavites, and other followers of Shakti, etc. So is a Sabarimala temple, is the Sabarimala temple also a religious denomination? This is also a bigger question. What constitutes a religious denomination? And what are the rights of these religious denominations? Can they be found to be contradictory of the fundamental rights of other individuals? Then what is an essential religious practice? We already discussed that under Article 26. Which practices are being considered to be an essential religious practice? So the center also has this power that if there is a practice that is against, that is discriminatory in nature, and it is against the dignified right to life and personal liberty and dignity. So if it is against certain things and it is promoting discrimination in the society, then center can also make certain reforms, provided that it should not be an essential religious practice. And if it is affecting other sections of Hindus also, then also it can make some amends. The center can make some amends. So here we'll have to decide what is an essential religious practice. So banning the entry of menstruating women, is it an essential practice or not? Then role of courts in religious matters, the most important question being discussed over here. When it comes to religious matters and religious decisions, should the court be allowed to make verdicts or enter or intervene? Is this against, is it a judicial overreach? Should it be allowed? So this is the basic question that the center has asked in the PIL. But what is the role of judiciary when it comes to religious questions? Or should the religious denominations be left on their own to decide what should be allowed in their religious practices and not? Equality versus tradition against individuals' right to equality. We have Article 14. And then tradition, if tradition is saying that certain age group of certain women are not allowed to enter, then this can also be against their fundamental right to equality, because we are talking about devotees over here, and all these devotees. So this temple is open for only a specific period of time, and all the devotees have to follow a very strict vrat in order to enter the temple and offer their prayers. So it is about devotion over here. When we're talking about devotees, and then we also talk about tradition, so is barring the women of certain ages actually the right thing to do? So it's the question of equality and tradition. And then what is going to be the impact on other religious practices? Of course, there is going to be an impact on other religious practices, because the question now no longer is just about gender justice or just about the entry of women in this temple, but it is also about bigger things and also similar practices that are being followed in other religions also. So whatever verdict comes out of this, we will have to see that this can be made, this could be referred to when we talk about similar situations or similar challenges in other religions or other religious denominations also. So this verdict will also become very important for us. So these are some major questions that are being asked, like what are the limitations, how far can constitutional morality go, or how far can the courts go in intervening in religious practices? What exactly is an essential religious practice? Do we actually can we call Sabarimala to be a religious denomination or not? And is it against gender justice? Is it not against gender justice? Or are we hurting the feelings of the devotees, female devotees over here, and as well as the other devotees who have these stringent notions that female of certain ages should not be entering the temple? So are we hurting their feelings? And then again, a bigger question is also being asked, that people who do not exactly belong to that religion, can they actually question this? Because the original PIL also had lawyers association in it. The lawyers association had also filed a PIL. So the court is also asking, the center is also asking that people who are not directly associated with it, people who are not directly associated with that religion, or let's say people, in this case if we are talking about females entering the temple, so people who are not female, so other male members, can they really be asking such questions? So these are some very big questions and broad questions that are being discussed in the Supreme Court right now. And once all the hearings are completed, post that we'll get a verdict, and that verdict is definitely going to be landmark in nature. We'll have to see if the Supreme Court will overturn its 2018 verdict, or will it expand the scope, or something else is going to happen. So that was all for this discussion. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now we'll look at a practice question for prelims. Which of the following statements about the Sabarimala temple and the related constitutional provisions is or are correct? 1. Article 25 of the Constitution guarantees freedom of religion to individuals. 2. Article 26 allows religious denominations to manage their own affairs in matter of religion. 3. The 2018 Supreme Court judgment allowed women of all ages to enter the Sabarimala temple, challenging traditional restrictions. Choose the correct statements. A. 1 and 2 only, B. 2 and 3 only, C. 1 and 3 only, or D. 1, 2 and 3. Please provide your answers in the comment section, and we will meet in a new video. Thank you for watching.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.